everyone. Welcome to our second session of financial modeling and business simulation class. And today we are going to learn about Excel function. This is the part one of Excel function session. Today we are going to learn several topics. The first one is basic Excel skills. The objective is to understand the basic operation of Excel. And the second topic is basic Excel function. We are going to understand the basic function of min, max, average, sum, and count. And the third is how to use the logical function using and or if, including sum if and count if. And the final one is we are going to learn the lookup function. We are going to understand how to use lookup function, especially the VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, and HLOOKUP. And this is the basic feature of Microsoft Excel, which is Excel tabs and menus. There are several divisions of Excel tabs and menus. The first one are tabs. Tabs consist of file, home, insert, formulas, data, review, view, and help. Basically, this is general tabs of Microsoft Excel. And here we also have buttons. Actually, button, you can see several icon here. It depends on the tabs you are going to click. If you open home tabs, and the button that will show is starting from uh, painter, paste, font, paragraph, or formatting. This is a very basic buttons. If you click insert tabs, there will be another different buttons. And the final one is groups. So the tabs is consists of buttons. One tabs consists several buttons. And buttons are represented by icon. As you can see here, you can look at the symbol of scissors, which mean cut, or format painter here. And some button may contain menus. And finally, we have groups. The groups is classification of icons or buttons. And this is the example of buttons that have additional menus. For example, the conditional formatting. We can see another menus after you click the conditional formatting. And in Microsoft Excel, you can also use shortcut. You can use your keyboard, so it will be faster to use your keyboard compared to using the mouse and clicking one by one. So this is the shortcut. You can use this whenever you use Microsoft Excel. In order to format your Excel appearance, you can use the formatting menu. For the number formatting, you can go to Home tab and choose General, and you click this one, arrow pointing to the corner. Just click this one, and format cells will appear, and you just choose which one you are going to format. For example, here you can format the appearance of date, whether you are going to you can choose which type of date that you are going to shows in your Microsoft Excel worksheet. And you can also format the number, currency, accounting, time, percentage. This is basically the style that you want to show in your worksheet. And you can also format your font for your worksheet appearance. For instance, you are going to choose Calibri, the size is 11. You can also select, you can click the arrow like this, the pointing arrow pointing to downward of your worksheet, and just choose which font you are going to use, and the font style, whether it is regular or italic or bold italic, and also the font size that you are going to choose. And if you are going to have straight through, superscript, and subscript, you can also add that one. And there are also others type of formatting such as alignment. This is similar basically like Microsoft Words, border, fill, and protection, alignment. or border. You can use border and fill to colorize your cells or protection. In the next section, we are going to learn some basic Excel function. This is the common mathematical operators that we are going to frequently use in Microsoft Excel. The first one is parenthesis, or in Indonesia it might be like kurung. And exponentiation, we use this for exponential function, multiplication to multiply numbers, and division to divide numbers by another numbers, and addition to add numbers by another numbers, and also subtraction. Basically, we could call this by PEMDAS. And these are the basic function of Excels. We have min, which returns the minimum number in some range of values that is selected. Max to return the maximum number in a range of values. Average to takes the average of selected range. And sum to add values from a selection, so it might be a row, columns, ranges, or individual input. And counts. Count is to count all cells in a range that contain numeric value only. And count A, it can count cells in orange, regardless the value type. So it can count text and also currency. It doesn't have to be a number if you use count A. And also trim to eliminate all empty space in a cell that contain text. You can use trims. And the important things here is you have to look at your Microsoft Excel setting and check whether you use a comma or you use point to express the decimal. For example, in my computer, as I frequently do the budgeting in Indonesian rupiah, so I use Indonesian style, and Indonesian use comma to express the decimal. So to separate the formula to another formula, I use semicolon. But if you use the US style, you can use a comma. And you can also go to this website in order to learn further about the basic function of Excel. Sorry, I forgot to tell you one more type of basic Excel function, which is sum product. We use sum product to multiply range or arrays together and return the sum of products. Usually we use, for example, using the sum product to find the total cost or the total sales of items in certain periods. The function is very powerful because it combines multiplication with sum or with addition. And actually you can use the multiplication first, and you total the multiplication to get the total cost or total revenue. But some product might cut your time more efficiently. So if we want to find the total order cost, the first way to do this is by simple or by traditional multiplication, which in which we have to multiply the unit cost with the quantity ordered here like this, and you break down the formula and you add the whole numbers by using sum. Right. And you get the total order cost here. But this is quite time consuming, and to shorten your time we can use sum product. The formula is very simple. Just type sum product, choose the first array. The first array here is unit cost, and the second array is the quantity. Okay, so the total should be similar with the traditional method. Okay, so use sum product to multiply and to add two items or more. Next, we are going to learn about the logical function. There are several types of logical function that we are going to frequently use during our financial modeling class. The first one is and, or, if, ifs, and if error. If you use and, it returns true if all of its argument or logical statement are true. However, if we use or, it returns true if any argument or at least one is true. And we use if to specify a logical task to perform, and ifs if the condition are more than one and you have to return a value that corresponds to the first true condition. We can also use if error. If error is the function is to return a specified value if a formula evaluates to an error. So, for example, if you are using Excel, maybe in some cells there are text and another cells contain numbers. So you cannot add text with numbers. So the result, if you use sum, it will be like diff or num or name. So if you use if error, if there are error like this, error like that, you can set certain numbers that you are going to return to whenever there are an error. For example, I often use 0. So if there are some error in the cells, it will not you will not find ref or value or num or name, something like that, because if ref exists in your cells, it will you it will distract your whole formula or your whole calculation. It will until the end of your calculation, it can be ref can be shown or value can be shown. So it your formula can be totally misleading if you use if you find ref value or NA. So we are going to avoid that things. We are going to avoid these things by using the if error function. The first logical function that we are going to learn is if function. The basic formula for a function is if, and this is the logical task that you are going to perform, and value is true, and value is false. The logical test could be include another symbols, mathematical symbols like equal to, not equal to, greater than, and etc. And value if true is if the logical task is satisfied or fulfilled or true, the value here will be displayed as output. Meanwhile, if the logical task is not met or false, this value will be displayed as output. For instance, you open the purchase order data and suppose that the quantity of order of at least 1000 units is considered as big and below that is small. And we can use this formula, and I will show you after this slide how to use the if function. And this is your homework. And in exercise 1, please do this exercise. Okay, this is the example 1. Any units, any quantity above 1000 units is considered as big. So we write the function here. If this is the quantity logical test, if the quantity is more than 1000, it will consider as big, otherwise it is small. Okay, close the bracket and press enter, and so this is small, and you just double click here this, and the formula will be go through all over the ranges here. This is the first one, and you do the first exercise here. Okay, the next logical functions are nested if and ifs function. So we use nested if and ifs function if we have multiple condition or multiple criteria. For example, in still in our purchase order data, we have more than two categories of order size with the following criteria or classification. If the quantity is less than 500, it will be classified as very small. Meanwhile, if the quantity is ranges from 500 to 1000, it will be considered as small order. While if the quantity is starting from 1000 to 10,000, it will consider as big. If the quantity is more than 10,000, it will be considered as very big. So here we have more than one condition, and we can use two options here, which one you can choose either one. The first one is nested if or if inside if, and the second one is ifs function, if plus s. If we use if function, the first criteria here will be evaluated first. If the condition doesn't satisfy this criteria, then the second formula here will be evaluated. If this is also not satisfied, and we are going to the third condition, this one, if f4 less than 10,000, it will be considered as big, and the rest will be considered as very big, the last condition. This is the nested if. And there are more simpler option by using ifs function. If you use ifs function, you do not need to write if multiple times like this. You just need to use write the ifs at the very first of your formula, and you do not need to use if again. For instance, here you just simply use ifs, and if the quantity is less than 500, very small, less than 10,000, small, less than 10,000, big, and you have to write through here, and the rest is very big. If the cells, the number in the cells doesn't fulfill the three criteria here, it will be considered as very big. This is the first logical test that are going to be evaluated, the second one, the third, and this is the last logical test. Okay, you also have exercise 2 here. Please do it by yourself, and I will show you how we do the, because I'm more comfortable with ifs function, I will show you how to do this with ifs function. Alright, I will show you how to perform the ifs function here for example 2. So we have the criteria stated in the PowerPoint one, and let's start. Use ifs here. The first logical test is if the quantity is less than 500, it will be considered as very small. I use a semicolon here. The criteria is very small, okay. After that, the second logical test is if the quantity is less than 1000, it will be categorized, value is true here, is it will be categorized as small, okay. Put the semicolon again, and the logical test 3 is if the quantity is less than 10,000, it will be considered as big. And then we use true here because we are already read all of the condition here, true. And then the rest will be considered as very big, or more than 10,000. We do not need to write everything in here. Just write like this. The rest will be considered as very big. Don't forget to close the bracket here. Okay, this is small, and just drag it down. Okay, so we have all of the category here. And the next one is multiple conditional statements. It occurs when we have conditions, multiple condition that requires more than one logical function. For instance, you might require ifs and or ifs and or, because you have multiple condition here, such as here we are going to classify the status of order based on quantity and unit cost. Okay, if the quantity is more than 1,000 and the unit cost is more than $200 per unit, its status is highly critical, something like this. So you can use ifs and or ifs and or. Ifs and it depends on the criteria. It depends on the logic. And how do we make that classification? This is because this is a multiple conditional statement, we are going to combine ifs and this is how to read this one. Ifs the first function here, you look at and here, and the formula language is like if f4 is the quantity is more than 1,000 and the unit cost is more than 200, is it is considered as highly critical. And because this is ifs function, you do not need to write another if here, just move to another criteria here. If the quantity is less than or equal to 1,000 and the unit cost is less than or equal to 200, it is considered as not critical. This is actually the very last criteria here, but in these statements it is included as the second criteria here, because we do not need to perform it in order. We just look at the criteria here. And highly critical, there's only one criteria of highly critical, only one criteria of not critical. Meanwhile, we have two criteria of critical. So if we write it the critical first, it will be very time consuming. So rather than writing the critical first, I'm going to write the not critical first. And after that, we write through here, and the rest of the condition that doesn't fulfill these two first criteria is considered as critical. Alright, the remaining condition is the critical. I will show you how to do it in Microsoft Excel. And the next one is multiple conditional statements. It occurs when we have multiple condition that requires more than one logical function. For instance, you might require ifs and or ifs and or, because you have multiple condition here, such as here we are going to classify the status of order based on quantity and unit cost. Okay, if the quantity is more than 1,000 and the unit cost is more than $200 per unit, its status is highly critical, something like this. So you can use ifs and or ifs and or. Ifs and it depends on the criteria. It depends on the logic. And how do we make that classification? This is because this is a multiple conditional statement, we are going to combine ifs and this is how to read this one. Ifs the first function here, you look at and here, and the formula language is like if f4 is the quantity is more than 1,000 and the unit cost is more than 200, it is considered as highly critical. And because this is ifs function, you do not need to write another if here, just move to another criteria here. If the quantity is less than or equal to 1,000 and the unit cost is less than or equal to 200, it is considered as not critical. This is actually the very last criteria here, but in these statements it is included as the second criteria here, because we do not need to perform it in order. we just look at the criteria here. And highly critical, there's only one criteria of highly critical, only one criteria of not critical. Meanwhile, we have two criteria of critical. So if we write it the critical first, it will be very time consuming. So rather than writing the critical first, I'm going to write the not critical first. And after that, we write through here, and the rest of the condition that doesn't fulfill these two first criteria is considered as critical. Alright, the remaining condition is the critical. I will show you how to do it in Microsoft conditional statements. And here, in example 3, the critical status of the order, first one, we write the ifs first. Jika ifs, open the bracket, and the first logical is F4, the quantity. Yes, the quantity is more than 1000. And but you do not need to write n again. We already write n in here, and this is the basic formula of n logical 1 and logical 2 here. If the unit cost is more than 200, alright, sorry, close the bracket. It will be, because the first function is in here is ifs, and the first logical test is f4 more than 1000 and e4 more than 200, and the value if true is, if this is true, we consider this as highly critical. Alright, so we move again to the rule of ifs function here. We write the second logical test. Alright, and we still use n, and if the quantity is less than or equal to 1000, and if the cost is less than or equal to 200, close the bracket. We back again to the if function. The value if true is if true is not critical, because the price and the quantity is very very low, so it is not critical. Okay, the formula is getting long, but it's okay. We are about to finish, and after that we write through here, and the rest of the condition, the remaining condition, is critical. Just close the bracket, okay, and drag it down. Okay, here we go. And here you have exercise that you have to try individually, so please do this exercise. We can also combine if with another basic Excel function, such as we are combining if or ifs with count, and with sum, with min or max, or with average. And after this slide, I will show you how to combine if with another basic Excel function. And now we are going to have the exercise with combining if function with another basic Excel function. We have to summarize the descriptive statistics for count using count, min, max, total, and average of order value for each supplier here, with order size of big order based on example 2 classification. And firstly, you have to create a table to calculate order costs, which is by multiplying unit costs multiplied by quantity. Let's have a look at it in our next Excel example. First of all, you have to compute the order cost by multiplying the unit cost here with quantity. Use this asterisk here. Okay, just drag it down by clicking twice. Okay, after that we go to the next table. Here is the next table. We have several supplier here, and the order size is only for big size. And here they ask you to count for the number of order for each suppliers based on order size. So this is basically the number of order for from PT Aberdeen with big order size. So we are going to use count ifs here, because we are going to count how many order from PT Aberdeen or from each supplier with certain criteria, and our criteria here is a big order size. So I use count ifs here because there are two conditions actually. Count ifs, open the bracket, and you will see the guideline here. The criteria range will be the order we can use the order here from PT Aberdeen. So this is the criteria range. The first one, it should be for PT Aberdeen, and I will put a string here because we are going to drag it down. So in order to lock the cell, we have to put a string in here so it doesn't move anywhere if we drag it down. And after that, this is the criteria range 1. Criteria 1 is PT Aberdeen. It should be from PT Aberdeen. If it is PT Aberdeen, we put the cursor in PT Aberdeen in key 4. As for key 4, you do not need to put the string here because we are going to drag it down for each supplier. So do not put the string here. And criteria range 2 is big, big order size. Big order size, we go to here, order size. Yes, this is the range, criteria range. Okay, highlight the order size range, and don't forget to put the string so it doesn't move if you drag your formula to below. Okay, and the criteria 2 is big. This is the criteria 2. Okay, so basically it closes the order size cells, but it's okay. I will just write it manually. It is in R4 actually. R4. Okay, close the bracket. Yes, there are 5 big size order from PT Aberdeen, and just drag the formula down. Okay. This is the first one. We use count ifs here, and after that they ask for total order cost. We have already calculated the total order cost here. So in here we are going to use some if, because we want to know how many is the total order cost from PT Aberdeen with the criteria of big order size. So let's just use some ifs here. The sum range is the order cost. We are going to sum here. Don't forget to put a string. Okay, and here again, put a string again. And this is the sum range. And the criteria range is PT Aberdeen. Criteria range 1 is PT Aberdeen. Let's move again to here, PT Aberdeen. Don't forget to make a string again. Yeah. Oh, by the way, in order to make the string, you just press F4 key in your keyboard. And criteria 1 is PT Aberdeen, which is in Q4. And we also have criteria range 2, which is the order size. Order size is in here. Okay, this is order size. Don't forget to string by pressing F4, and then criteria 2 is big order size, which is in R4. After that, place the closing bracket. Okay, and you're ready to drag the formula down. Okay, and the next one is minimum order cost. Minimum order cost for each suppliers and with big order size only. So here we are going to combine min with yes. Okay, minimum order cost. The range of minimum order cost is in here in order cost. Okay. Don't forget to put the string. And criteria range 1 is PT Aberdeen. Then drag it down. And criteria 1 is individual supplier, which is PT Aberdeen. Don't put a string in here. While the criteria 2 is about the order size, so highlight the order size range here. And don't forget to put string as well. And criteria 2 is big. Order size is big. And again, do not put the string here and close the bracket. Okay, and your formula is ready to be dragged down. As for the maximum order cost, basically it is similar with minimum order cost, the formula, only you substitute min with max here. So we can just simply copy the formula to cell fee here. So I will copy here, and we can paste the formula by choosing the paste formula. But you have to slightly change the formula to max ifs. Alright. Does it work? Sorry, doesn't work actually. So just I will undo again. I will copy this one. Put it here. Okay, let's try. Okay, here we go. Yes, we are all set. We have a number of order of each supplier for big order size, total order cost for each supplier, and minimum order cost, and also maximum order cost for each supplier. Our next discussion is about lookup function. The first lookup function is VLOOKUP, or it stands for vertical lookup. This is the basic syntax of VLOOKUP. And this VLOOKUP function is a function that makes Microsoft Excel search for a certain value with a unique identifier, such as ID number of a person or a product, and the function only returns to one result. This is the example. What type of item purchased in order number 20200 153. So this is the identifier, the unique identifier. One item only has one identifier. Similar goes to your citizen number. One person only has one citizen number. So we are going to perform this function through Microsoft Excel. I will show you after this slide. Okay, so we already have here the input that we are going to find. This is the ID of the order. What is the product of input number 20, and etc. etc. So we are going to use VLOOKUP for this. The basic syntax for VLOOKUP is to write the VLOOKUP first, to write it down first, and the lookup value is the unique ID that you are going to search, which is in cell X4. And table array, just highlight the table array of the data here. Make sure you highlight the order number. Just highlight everything that you need to here. Okay, we already highlight the range, and after that, column index, we are going to find the product here, the product for a certain ID number. So let's have a look at the table. The item or the product is accessed in column number 4 from the table. So the column index number is 4. So it depends if you want to, for example, you want to search the supplier for a specific order number, so the column index will be 2. But here, since we are going to find the item description or the product, the column index number is column number 4. And we can, the range lookup, it could be true. True is approximate match, or false exact match, or you can use a 0 for true or 1 for false. Okay, so the product for input number for ID number 20, 200 153 is airframe fasteners type 3. Another variation of lookup functions are HLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. HLOOKUP is similar with VLOOKUP only if the VLOOKUP we search in column, but if in HLOOKUP we search in row. So horizontal lookup or HLOOKUP can be used to retrieve information from a table by searching a row for the matching data and outputting from the corresponding column. Okay, so an XLOOKUP, this is more flexible than VLOOKUP. It doesn't care, the identifier doesn't need to be in the first column. If we use VLOOKUP, the identifier should be in the first column, otherwise we cannot use the function well. So we can use XLOOKUP if the identifier is not in the first column. So this is your exercise. Please use XLOOKUP and find the item description for order number 20, 200, 153. So try it with XLOOKUP rather than VLOOKUP. The next variation of lookup functions are index, match, and index and match. We are going to learn about this function in more detail in the next slide. We are going to use index, match, and match to retrieve or to find certain values or certain items. For instance, here I have several people data with ID, first name, last name, and salary. Now we use the index function. Index function is used to retrieve a value in a cell. But index function is not quite flexible, so I really did not recommend this to use this function. But index function is the basic of index match function, so you have to learn this one. So the ID here is 99. We want to know who is the first name of the person with ID number 99. So we use index here, index, and we choose the array. Array is from B2, which states the ID, until C8, C8, which states the first name. After that, we define the row number. ID 99 is located in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the 6th row. So we write 6 here. So you see that this is not very practical because we have to count manually for the number of row. And then the column number ID is located in the first column, and close the bracket. Sorry, not one, but first name. The first name that we are going to find is in column number 2. So this is 2. The first name of the person with ID 99 is Justin. Meanwhile, match is used to find the position of an item in a range. If we can, we have to count manually in index. Here, match function allows you to find the position of an item. So we write match here, and the lookup value here is 99. Just highlight it, and lookup array. Lookup array. We wish to find the position, the person with ID number 99. So we select the array, which is B2 until B8, and match type. 1 is for less than, 0 for exact match, and -1 for greater than. So we just choose 0, which indicates that the number should be equal with 99. So ID 99 is located in row number 6. Meanwhile, index and match, here we are going to combine index function and match function. Actually, we can look the first name of the person with ID 99 by using index function. However, it is very impractical, so we have to combine index with match. So first, we use index first here, index, and then we select the array first, the array that we are going to look for. We are going to look for the first name, so we highlight C2 until C8. And then since we are going to combine index with match, separate the formula with semicolon and type match. Match, and open the bracket, lookup value. This is the value that we are going to look for, ID number 99. Okay, after that you add semicolon again. ID 99 is we are looking at the lookup array. Lookup array of ID 99 is in ID column, which is in B2 until B8. And as for the type, we use the equal to or 0, exact match. Okay, we have to add more close bracket here, so just accept the correction. Yes. So this is basically similar with VLOOKUP, very similar with VLOOKUP. However, the index match function has some benefit compared to VLOOKUP, because for VLOOKUP the identifier should be located in the first column, and it is very impractical to move the column to the first one. If, for instance, if you want to know what is the ID of Justin, Justin is located in second column. If you use VLOOKUP, you have to replace the first name, which is in column 2, to column number 1. So it is a bit impractical. So you can use either XLOOKUP, as we have discussed before, or you could also use index match. Index match is more sophisticated actually than the VLOOKUP. So basically it is quite similar with before. So we just type the index first, and you choose the array of the one that you are going to look for. We are going to look for the ID here. Alright, and match. Okay, match with Justin, because Justin is text. I wish to use this sign. Justin, lookup value is Justin. Alright, the lookup array. Justin is in the first name is in column C. So we are going to highlight column C, and match type is exact match. Don't forget to close the bracket. So the ID of Justin is 99. This is feasible or possible to be done with index match or XLOOKUP, but you cannot use VLOOKUP for this type of lookup.